So today I think I'm going to do a video on how I go about killing grass and keeping the stone and stuff around my house looking good. As you can see right now, it's not looking the best. A couple options for this. We can hit this with Roundup and other various chemicals sold, or we can disc it. I don't know if anybody else has ever tried disking their driveway before. You can watch as this either turns out really good or really bad. The deal with it is she's got right here on this gang, we've got some trouble going on. As you can see, this arm here at one time was part of this bracket which holds this gang of discs together. She got worked a little too hard and broke, and the bearings are all screwed up, so we're gonna see if we can't fix that and do something about it. If I can get this out of here. So yeah, this bracket right here, if it'll cooperate, used to look like this bracket with the little L piece in it, which is what this is, and that goes right here, or did at one point. So what we're going to do is we're going to grind this to a nice bevel and do the same thing for this side, and I'll show you what it's like to put these two back together rather than buying that new. I don't even know if that can be bought. This thing is made by Line. I've never heard of it before. If you all have, cool. Leave me a comment or something about it if you have one or something made by them. So yeah, the other part of this, now getting a better look at it, they had all these, looks like a piece of pipe stacked up to make up the distance, and I was looking at it and I got looking at one of the other gangs, and I think what happened is this spacer right here used to be the size of this spacer right here. You can see that it's just worn down to nothing, so I'm not quite sure at the moment what I'm going to do about it. Also this bracket right here, I guess when it broke free it gave it a pretty good twist, is bent out, but I think some heat treatment right around this area will fix all that. Alright, so we've got bracket number 1 clamped in the vise. We are going to start working on getting this thing cleaned up and ready for some weld action. So what I want to do is clean all this crud up here, get down to some nice shiny metal, put a nice bevel on it, and then attack it with the welder. Alright, so we're cleaned up, we're beveled up, time for some tacks. Alright, so I've got my magnetic triangle in there that's got me held at a nice 90-degree angle. And we've got a decent-ish bevel going on, you know, for our material to run into. So let's get to weld. Alright, so here we are. Here's the finished product. On the inside here, where this weld is, I decided to go a little bit thicker. And then on the outside here, I just kind of filled in the groove. So yeah, I think what I'm going to do for this piece, I'm going to look around and see if I can't find, I'm usually pretty good about this. Whenever I cut off a piece of something, or if I'm, putting an angle on something, I'll save the little triangle piece that comes off. And I think what I'm going to do is just weld in just a couple little triangles here, just to help this thing out. Yeah, I'm going to look for some triangles, see if I can't get those welded in there, and we'll go from there. So sure enough, in my stockpile of spare stuff, I found a little piece of metal that this was a triangle. I just took my die grinder and sort of cut this little peak of it off. That way it can lay like so in that valley. Alright, we got our triangle welded in. Hopefully it works for us. Alright, so I figured, even though this isn't totally necessary, but for my OCD I have to do this. Even though this is I would say by most people's standards, a pretty nice looking weld. What I like to do is I like to come back over something like that. If you're trying to beautify it, use one of these sanding pads for your grinder. They take off just the right amount of metal. They're not, they don't gouge. They just smooth everything over, and when it's all said and done, it won't even look like from the top side. And remember, this is the side you'll be seeing when this thing is mounted back on the disc frame. It won't even look like this was ever repaired. And there you have it. Once that's hit with some paint, you won't even be able to tell it happened. Maybe use a little bit of primer filler. Not that I'm that worried about it. So I think the next thing we're going to do, we're going to fire the torch up. I've already made the decision these bolts aren't worth screwing with. We're just going to zap them with the torch. And our other bracket over here is the one that needs a little bit of heat treatment. It's got a nice little flex to it. It's right about there. And once I get that heated up, what I'll do is I'll clamp that in the vise. Well, it'll already be clamped in the vise. And then I'll hammer on this end a little bit. I'll keep checking it with my square, and we should get her back the way she's supposed to be. Alright, so we got piece number 2 clamped in the vise. You can pretty much see right away where the affected area is. The paint's even kind of cracked up from when this got bent. I'm sure my vise isn't 100% true, but it's good enough, I think, for what we're going to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our rosebud style tip here. We're going to get this thing fire red hot, and then usually, once you get enough of this hot, even on a larger piece of steel like this, it'll usually bend back down pretty good. So we'll get it looking good again by eye, and that'll probably be good enough. So here are the results up to this point. We've got this piece all welded up and back like it should be. This one has been heated up and has been bent back. What it's really coming down to now are these bearings. Now I did a little bit of research online, and it turns out, go figure, this is some sort of special type bearing. It's not just where you divide these two flanges and put a new ball bearing in. The flanges actually act as the outer race. Usually most ones that I've dealt with, these two flanges divide and you just slap your new, bearing in there. But in the case of this one, that's not the deal. What I'm seeing in some of the forums and stuff is people talking about not being able to get these bearings, or at least being a lot of trouble to get these bearings. I'm kind of at a crossroads right now as to whether I'm going to try and get replacement versions of these, because this thing isn't really going to get used a whole lot by me. Not sure if we're going to try and get something from Tractor Supply and retrofit it to make it work, or what we're going to do, but that's where we're at for right now, so we'll see what happens in the future.